pinchèd yeast within the flour, a treasure hidden in the ground. We know not the day nor hour when the pearl is finally found. Secrets held in mustard seeds, salty grains give food its worth. All our small but loving deeds show your presence in the earth. Amen. There's only one way to go when you're wearing flip-flops. Forward. Because if you try going backwards with them, you'll land on your bum. Hopefully in the sand and not on cement. Yes? Yes, well, that could be worse too, yeah. How much of our time and energy do we expend on going backward? Yes? Ruminating on past failures, losses of the past, sighing about past successes that we are afraid will never repeat, past relationships that we wish were happening now, regrets about what we did do and what we didn't do, resentments about past slights, past hurts, backward thinking, backward living that makes us stumble and get stuck. Ponder time with me for a moment. Whenever I go to the great Southwest, I spend a lot of time admiring the gorgeous landscapes carved out of the layers and layers of colorful rock and dirt out there. In the petrified forest of Arizona, the layers are particularly bright and stunning. One layer of the Petrified Forest National Park consists of mud flows that happened 244 million years ago, trapping entire forests in them, covering them, burying them, trees that over the eons swapped their wood cells for silica, which turned them into stone. On the altar is a big piece I found just outside the boundary of the park where it's legal. I mean, I'm talking about 100 yards outside the national park. Come admire it. It's pretty awesome. I found it was kind of just nudging up out of the mud in this wash just south of the park. And it's a reminder of the very deep past that surrounds us when we encounter the natural world around us. We've been enjoying a beautiful blue supermoon, yes? How good has that been? Awesome, yeah? Big, twice in 1 month, fantastic. A rare moment. We've been gazing into the heavens at this celestial object, which you might think of as kind of like a cosmic fossil. Yeah? It was the consequence of a monstrous collision that knocked off a piece of the earth and spun it out into what became the moon. 4.5 billion years ago. Wow. So you think you're in a big hurry. Ponder petrified wood. So you think time is running out for you to do this or that. Ponder the moon. Yes? Gaze at the supermoon, the blue supermoon. Think that such and such or so and so is a really big deal? Well, then consider that all that humanity has ever been or ever will be might not wind up being more than a kind of a dark smear between strata on some mountain that doesn't even exist yet and won't be seen for another 100 million years. And then, ponder some more about time. It's like, what's the difference between 10 seconds ago and 244 million years ago? They're equally past. They are the past. The past is the past is the past. We play all sorts of head games with ourselves, tricks that we play on ourselves to pretend like the past is present. But the past is past. So when we get hung up on the past, hung up on what's behind us, whether it was 10 seconds ago or a long time ago. It's time to put flip-flops on and go to the beach and walk forward. Now, there's this secondary meaning of flip-flops, right? Flip-flopping, like, oh, changing your mind and ... Well, that can be a very good thing. Flip-flopping about what you want to do, that could be good. As long as you're flip-flopping forward and not backward, because if you try to go backward, you're going to wind up in your bare feet, for better or worse. In my work of pastoral counseling, I've had many conversations with people of all ages who find themselves in the dating market. And I emphasize the word market, because for all of them, they feel like to get into this online dating thing, it's kind of like you have to commodify yourself, which is a drag, right? Whatever dating site, whatever app you use, you feel like you become a commodity. And they complain about the process. It can be grueling, all these flash dates at Starbucks. But all I have to say to them is like, okay, whatever trouble you think you're having with online dating, it cannot compare to what I went through when I was a young guy trying to date, particularly as a pastor. It was a nightmare, right? I'll just leave it there. It was bad. So I just say, I would trade your trouble with online dating with the trouble I had being a 25-year-old pastor, single, any day. But all that apart, what happens with folks in online dating is that they check somebody out and things might just seem like they might possibly work, and then they get all Twitter-pated and then it falls apart and then they're frustrated. And this happens over and over again. And then they start losing hope. So I find myself just gently listening and then gently saying, it's time for flip-flops. Yes. It's time to put on your flip-flops and move forward and let whatever went wrong in online dating, let it go so that you can move forward and keep moving forward till you find your mate. Many discouragements along the way, of course, but forward is the only direction to go, or you'll never get where you want to go, and you'll never be where you want to be, for that matter, in the moment. Perhaps my very favorite passage in the Bible is this one that Colleen read this morning from Romans by Paul, the apostle formerly known as Saul, right? I like that way of describing him. I forget who came up with it, but I thought it was perfect, kind of riffing off of Prince, the performer formerly known as. He wrote this beautiful passage, yes. I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. For the creation waits for eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. For the creation was subjected to futility not of its own will, but by the will of the one who subjected it in hope, that the creation itself will be set free from its enslavement to decay and will obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For in hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, but if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Good dating advice. Yeah. The match that we see is not hope, for who hopes for what he already sees or she already sees. But if we wait for the match that we don't see, we can begin to be patient. Forward, forward, forward. Paul must have been wearing flip-flops when he wrote that letter to the Romans, yeah? Think of it, when he was Saul, he was aimed backwards. He was going backwards. He was trying to preserve a form of his religion, trying to, hold on to the past, right? Objecting to these Christians with these new ideas, this new way of doing Judaism. He didn't like it. He wanted to go backwards. Meanwhile, these folks were going in a different direction. They're doing a new thing. But on the road to Damascus, suddenly he did a flip-flop, right? And he started aiming forward alongside the Christians. Progressive Christianity is wearing flip-flops that are no good for going any direction but forward. Pope Francis gets this. Check him out this week, huh? Wasn't that amazing what he said? He said he was criticizing conservative Catholics. He said they have replaced faith with ideology. He said that being conservative is looking backwards. And when you go backwards, he says, you make something closed off, disconnected from the roots of the church, which then has a devastating effect on morality. This is really interesting what he's saying, yeah? He's not saying that going forward means leaving your roots behind. No, on the contrary, he says, you're being true to your roots by moving forward, right? And I would like to think that that's what we're about as progressive Christians. We are being true to our roots, we're growing out of our roots, flip-flopping forward into the future, not trying to revive a past that is past. We're flip-flopping onward toward a kinder, gentler form of the faith. You know, these days in academia and in leadership in progressive Christianity, too, all of us are pretty much expected to list our preferred pronouns on our email signatures, yes? Now, some folks think that that's too woke, right? And I would say that, my experience of it is that it's, I don't worry about the woke factor at all, but I think it is awkward, right? It's awkward, for sure, let's face it. It's really tough to sort out what pronouns to use, even if we're told which ones to use. It gets awkward and confusing. We have people at USC with buttons that big indicating their, it's like, okay, is this sustainable? Probably not, right? So the way I look at it is that the pronoun thing is an awkward step in the right direction, yeah? But it's an awkward step toward progress. It's moving forward, but it's shuffling and sloppy, right? But there's hope, there's hope that we don't see today, but there is hope. It's like, think of what happened with Miss and Mrs. 40 years ago, right? We figured it out. We go, oh, Ms., problem solved, right? So mark my words, I think that in 20 years, everybody is going to be they. Everybody. They. And nobody's going to even bat an eye about it. It's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be like the Chinese language that doesn't have he, she anyway, right? We're gonna go Chinese. Is Arabic like that, Miriam? No, they got he and she. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yes. Right. Maybe it has English beat, huh? Well, that'd be tough. But yeah, this problem is going to get solved. I trust that. That's what I look forward to. And I don't worry about it because I know someday we'll get past it. We're flip-flopping to a solution. And that's true of so many other things in the world, too. After I retired at USC, I considered adding a line under my preferred pronouns, which are, by the way, he, him, etc., in case you didn't know. I decided I should add a line underneath. It would be my preferred verbs. I was going to have my preferred verbs are going to be was, did, as a retired person, right? But upon further reflection, I realized that actually I am still flip-flopping onward. I refer to my new status as entirement as opposed to retirement, because the entire rest of my life spreads out ahead of me for me to flip-flop into a future that I don't know yet, but I'm aiming toward with hope. So flip-flops, they protect your precious feet from the burning sands, and they also protect your precious soul from ruminating and getting stuck on what's behind you. So slip your toes between the posts on your flip-flops and set forth toward the future. Amen.